Hello friends, this is Scott, and we're at my Salt Lake City home in the front yard. And here we're looking at what I believe to be a weeping blue Atlas cedar. Now my house was built in 1991. We didn't buy it originally when it was built. We've owned it since I think 2002. But this tree here was probably a couple years old when they put it in. It was an original planting. So it's probably a 35-year tree, 35-year-old tree right now. So as you can see, I kind of let it go last year and didn't do anything with it. And it is kind of out of control. So, these trees are kind of meant to be kind of messy looking, but this one definitely needs a haircut. So I'm just starting out, and I don't know exactly the shape that I'm going to do this or exactly how long I'm going to let these weeping parts of the tree go. I want to open up some sunlight to the canopy, and I think the neatest thing about this tree is the actual trunk. And it's all hidden right now, so I'm going to uncover that trunk, and that's kind of the neatest part of this tree. It's a mess, but just starting out with hand pruners and just going around and just start knocking off the some of the basic stuff. I'm just design building as I go, or design pruning. I don't know exactly how this is going to look when I get done, but I just know it needs a good haircut. Now I'm doing a couple types of cuts here. I'm either cutting it a branch all the way down to the main stem and making a clean cut, or as you see as I'm shortening the branches that are weeping, I'm just going to cut mid-branch. So those are the two types of cuts I'm doing, or two types of prunes, and nothing fancy, nothing difficult. It's just trying to make this little tree look the way I want it to look. And again, right now I'm not sure exactly how I want it to look, but we'll just keep on cutting away and just see what we end up with. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mess, and I'm going to do my best to make this look presentable. Again, this is my front yard, and when the front yard is in full growth, it looks pretty sharp, but when it's in off-season or it's not pruned up, it's kind of a mess. And so it's time to get this yard straightened around so it looks presentable again. Now, some of these branches are too big for the hand pruner, so I'll use the loppers and making a pile of debris behind me. And I'll just do a couple of these. Most of these are more, hand pruning size, but there's a few that need to be cut with these loppers. But they're kind of awkward, so I'm going to go back to the pruners, I think. Yeah, and just cut with those. It's this is an evergreen tree, and it is the branches aren't hard to cut. They're all alive. Again, evergreen means they're green all year. They don't lose their leaves like with deciduous trees or hardwood trees. Time to get into some speed pruning, and because this gets a little bit redundant watching me make every cut. But yeah, just whip through it and try to get all the branches kind of evened up. And I'm not done, but here's a look at kind of the first draft. But there's the first look at the trunk. As you get down in here and see, it's a twisted trunk. And it's a significant tree. I mean, this tree is, again, 35 years old probably, and the trunk is pretty impressive. So let's take a measure and see how big this trunk is. Now, I've got a little bit of a tape here that I can wrap around the tree, if I can get it out here. There we go. And wrap it around, and it comes and just doesn't have the feet marked out very well. It just has all the inches. So I have to do my math here, my tough math, and take a look at this. And as I'm going through here, as I'm figuring it out, it's 31 inches. Okay, so it's almost a 10-inch diameter tree. So it's just under that. So I'll get back up on the ladder and do some of these of the wild hair branches. And I just wanted to get this looking sharp. And over the summer, it's going to grow. It's going to, the branches are going to go right back down to the ground again. But right now, just to start the year, it'll look at least presentable and look pretty sharp. Now these trees are reportedly kind of hard to get to start growing. Again, I had this tree and it was many years old when we bought the house, so this tree was well established and haven't had any issues with it. As you see that little stump behind me, that was an original tree too. That was a little Japanese maple that I had pruned it drastically, for many, many years. And one year I overdid it. So yeah. So that was every other original pruning or every other original tree is still alive in this yard, minus some Alberta spruces that I moved and got rid of in the backyard and to put in other types of plants like apple trees. But yeah, this yard didn't have a lot of growth or a lot of plantings anyway. I've done most of it as the 22 or so years that we've owned this home. But I've got my saw out now, and getting rid of some of the upper growth. And, as you see, it's a pretty nice day. I started out with a stocking cap on, and I'll probably end up with a sunburn. So that's Utah late winter, early spring, as you go from, wearing a coat and a hat to being down to shirt sleeves by the end of the day. But supposed to have another storm come through. It's supposed to be really windy today, so I'm just going to try to get as much done as I can before that happens. So we're almost done. Now this, again, is a front yard and a backyard tree, and I'm going to show you the backyard here in a little bit. It needs to be pruned out the back too, but I'll do it a little differently back there. I like the kind of the weeping aspects of it as it covers up the fence. I've got kind of a terrace backyard, which I'll show you in the back, and I've got to do a little bit of haircut back there too, but that'll be another day's project. I'm not going to try to tackle that today, but yeah, it's just up on my rickety old ladder, and it's still holding up. It's surprised I haven't fallen through this ladder. It's seen better days, but it's time for a new one, I think. But yeah, we'll get a little more use out of it until I get hurt, and then I'll buy a new one, I think. So just finishing up the final cuts with the saw on the top, just to get it so it looks like it's in pretty normal shape, and there we are. So yeah, it looks like a pretty cool tree. And again, I like the trunk, so I'm not going to leave it, the weeping part, hanging down really low. I want people to be able to see that trunk. Here's a better look of it. It's kind of cool. So anyway, these trees take a long time to grow, and this one, again, has had many, many years. And there's the carnage from the pruning, and it's not terrible. So I managed in the front yard to fill up both garbage cans today. And here's the backyard, and that's the weeping part. I got to figure out how I want that to look in the back. So yeah, another day's job, not today. Well, I'm glad the weather in Salt Lake was nice enough for me to get this job done and get the front yard and some of the backyard looking a lot better. Got to get back down to the hobby farm. There's still snow on the ground, but I need to get the garden planted. And so hopefully I can get some sweet peas in, and I do have some potatoes, and I need to get some onions. And so we'll get back down there and we'll get planted once the snow is off the garden beds. Well, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you.